The following newscast is presented in high definition by Time Warner Cable. In high definition, 19 Action News starts now. A quiet Monday morning at Chardon High School, shattered by gunfire.
We had one shooter at this time.
From the moments of terror to the victims, survivors, and chilling clues, 19 Action News live team coverage starts right now.
We are covering this story like no one else. Our crews everywhere gathering the latest information, from new details on the suspect and victims to a moving vigil tonight as a community grieves.
But first, we want to get to breaking news right now. We have learned through sources that a second victim has died. He passed away tonight at Metro. We do not have that victim's name confirmed. 16-year-old Daniel Carmenter died at Metro earlier today. Both victims were shot in the cafeteria at Chardon High School early this morning. Now, this is a story that has stunned not only the community of Chardon, but the entire state and much of the nation.
Paul Johnson kicks off our team coverage. He is in Chardon live with breaking details on the investigation. Paul?
Now, shocked is not a strong enough word to describe how people are feeling here tonight after the terrifying series of events unfolded this morning. It was just after 7:30 in the morning when a student armed with a revolver opened fire inside the Chardon High School cafeteria.
We have an active shooter at the high school. Repeat, active gunshots at the high school.
Geauga County Sheriffs and Chardon Police rushed to the scene, but the damage had already been done.
Fire department, you're going to have 4 victims, 3 in the cafeteria, 1 in 200, and they're requesting assistance as soon as possible.
Eyewitnesses say after shooting between 4 and 6 times, the gunman, identified by students as 17-year-old Thomas T.J. Lane, ran out of the cafeteria and was confronted and chased out of the building by an assistant football coach. For about an hour, authorities couldn't find him.
Wearing a gray sweatshirt that says killer.
Parents rushed to campus, some getting calls or texts from their panicked teenagers still inside the school.
Boys are fine, thank God.
Police established a triage area and medevac landing zone in a nearby shopping center.
There'll be 4 helicopters landing at Walmart. 4 helicopters at Walmart.
The injured students were rushed to 2 different hospitals. Sometime later, the suspected gunman surrendered to authorities. Chardon superintendent canceling Tuesday classes for every public school in the city, promising grief counselors for students and staff.
I want them to stay home and spend some time reflecting on family. I hope every parent, if you haven't hugged or kissed your kid in the last couple days, just take that time.
In all, 5 students were shot this morning. 2 are now dead. One of them identified as 16-year-old Danny Parmenter, said to be a very bright young man with a promising future. His family, one of the families requesting privacy tonight. Of course, we will honor their wishes. Live in Chardon, Paul Johnson, 19 Action News.
All right, Paul, thank you. The 19 Action News chopper high over Chardon High School just minutes after shots rang out. Police and emergency response teams flooded the school and were set up before most parents arrived on the scene to check on their kids. Now 5 victims were transported to area hospitals, 2 to Hillcrest and 3 to Metro, where 2 victims have died. Ed Gallick is live at Metro with the very latest on our breaking news and the victims. So sad, Ed. Can we hear Ed? We do not have Ed. We are going to move along, and we will effort to get Ed back up in a few minutes.
You wouldn't expect anything like this ever to happen in Chardon.
And a lot of emotion tonight as Chardon came together for 2 vigils to remember the victims and pray for their families. It was the first time many students saw one another since leaving school this morning. Our Lydia Esparra was at both of those vigils, and she is live now with more. Lydia?
Denise, as you know, Chardon is a quiet and friendly community, so when something like this happens, they do what they know best. They gather together and they pray.
We got there, and so everyone's thinking it's a normal Monday, and there's a guy with a gun. I mean, Mondays don't get any worse than this.
For Sean Klepak, this is the worst day of his young life. He was in the high school and heard the first shot.
After that, we all just ducked and ran into the teacher's lounge.
Now he and hundreds of others are looking for answers.
It's calming that we can be here and talk to people.
Looking to pray for the victims.
The victims are the ones who were hurt, to try to give them some peace too, to fair.
And find the only comfort they know in a church.
It's terrible what happened. I wasn't there, but it was just, wow.
For some, the prayers can only go so far. There is no forgiveness for the shooter.
I mean, I feel bad, but I don't, because he took Russell, he took Danny.
Chardon, it's a city known to welcome the first big snowfall and the cameras that come with it. On this night, they have new recognition. A city where a crazed gunman opened fire on their high school. And for Sean, that's not a memory he wants to cherish.
It's a great town. I mean, you wouldn't expect anything like this ever to happen in Chardon.
And you can see here that the flags are being flown at half-staff all across the community. There's also a campaign that has started on Facebook and Twitter, Go Red for Chardon. So far, they have about 13,000 people who have responded. So as you can see, this is a story that not only affects us, but the entire country. Reporting live in Chardon, Lydia Aspara, 19 Action News.
Thanks, Lydia. And there will be another vigil tomorrow night. That'll be held at St. Mary's on North Street in Chardon, literally right across the street from the school. That is scheduled for 7 o'clock at night. Well, like most schools across the area, there have been numerous drills to prepare for situations like this.
Drills they never expect to actually have to use. Now, teachers put that plan into action, ushering panicked students from hallways and into classrooms, locking those doors shut. We're told one teacher, a football coach, Mr. Hall, chased the gunman out of the building, which probably also saved many lives.
We obviously have a number of disaster drills we planned for. Never think we're going to put them in place.
Well, no classes at Chardon High School tomorrow, but there will be grief counselors on hand. And just minutes ago, a student who says she came face-to-face with the gunman and was in the cafeteria when shots rang out, told her story to our Lydia Aspara.
I saw him with a straight face, just knowing what he was doing. He just shooting his gun, just walking slowly toward them, shooting at them. And
you mentioned to me earlier too that he was sending out text messages earlier. What were in those text messages?
About how he lived off of animal blood, and how sooner or later he was gonna need somebody's blood.
Absolutely chilling to hear. We are piecing together much more about the suspect tonight. All day we've been giving you a chilling look at suspect TJ Lane's past, from postings on Facebook and Twitter to very disturbing warning signs. Lane described by students as an outcast, a teenager who had apparently been bullied. Dan DeRose is live now with more on the teen accused in this bloody rampage. Dan?
Denise, the more we learn about TJ Lane, especially through social media like Facebook, we find posts like this, very disturbing, very ominous, and it says that there were some signs that were definitely out there. This is the FBI searching two homes in Chardon Township this afternoon. Both homes, family of 17-year-old TJ Lane. But who is this teen, and were there any signs? Take a look at this bizarre Facebook post from Lane, which we found before his page was shut down. It's a rambling message posted in January that says, quote, "I'm on the lam, but I ain't no sheep. I am death." It goes on to say, "Now, feel death. Not just mocking you, not just stalking you, but inside of you. Die, all of you." I sat down with retired senior specialist Greg Truhan from the U.S. Secret Service.
You hear the saying that people just snapped. The research shows that these people don't just snap.
Truhan specialized in threats against public officials. In 1998, they completed a study looking at people planning assassinations. The strange thing is, many of the findings were then mere images of their study into school shooters in 2002 after Columbine.
These are well planned out in advance, or planned out to some extent in advance.
With Truhan's expertise, they created training for schools to come up with threat assessment teams, which are school officials who can look for the signs that aren't always direct threats.
In the school shooter survey, 98% of the school shooters were already on somebody else's radar screen for behaviors and communications of interest. Something they said, something they wrote, something they talked about.
Now at 19actionnews.com, right here in our continuing coverage, I have posted that entire bizarre poem. A lot of people ask, why are we posting things like this? A lot of people walk away from this and say, what kind of monster could do this? Bring a gun into school and shoot their own classmates. When you read something like this, it gives you a little bit of an insight into who we're dealing with.
Live at the big board, Dan DeRose, 19.